Hi, it's Jenika with Jenika's Journals, and I have returned with just a very small update on my bullet journal. I was going to wait till a week, but I don't know when I'm going to be able to record again, so I'm taking advantage of this moment. And I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts that I'm having. I love reading your input about bullet journal. I'm excited to be in this community. I realize that I have been a bullet journaler to some degree for quite a while. I think ever since I've really been journaling. I'm a list maker. And really, when I think about it, a Sterling ink or a Hobonichi, there's a lot of bullet journal happening. So it has the calendar page, and then it has these dailies, or you might sneak in the weeks section here. But this is just a really big bullet journal because that's what you're doing back here. I mean, I think I knew that all along, but again, I am getting back to Ryder Carroll's like original idea and reading his book, as I said, and really embracing the idea of the bullet journal method from the ground up. So the first problem that I had, and I told everyone here about that, was this monthly page. So this was hard. And I read a couple comments. So this is not necessarily a future planner, more of a memory keeper or log, I guess. Memory keeping's not the word. A log of the things that happen, bullet points of what happened through the month. Okay, so I totally get that. Except that Ryder talks about in his book about using this for future planning. So you can write things in here if you know, like I know my work schedule, so I can write that in here, and that technically is future planning and not logging because it hasn't happened yet. He talks a little bit about that. And then, of course, someone also mentioned the future log, which I have here. Future log, this is at the top of this is in my bullet journal by Leuchtturm. So, you know, where you write the months, right? This is pretty original to his method. I'm not using it exactly like he had said as a future log. So like if I know that I have a dentist appointment coming up, I can put that in my future log because I don't have my month made out yet. So say it's in August, I don't have August made out, and I'm not going to for a while. So I can put that in my future log under August. And then when that month comes, I refer to my future log and I migrate those into my monthly log. That's the idea as I understand it. But that doesn't work for me. It simply doesn't. I have got to have squares in my calendar. And I know some people do this awesome job of like drawing these squares, and I can't do that. I mean, the answer would be for me to draw each calendar out at the beginning of the year and but I don't want to do that either. And that's because I might make it through an entire bullet journal, and then I have all these monthly calendars I've drawn out. What am I going to redraw them? Oh no, I can't. So my answer to that was to get a book like this, but it's not ideal. I don't even really like it, to be fair. I don't like undated calendars. That is picky, I understand, but I just simply don't. And I went on the manhunt for a Traveler's Company yearly 2025 standard notebook, even though this is A5, because I thought I could tolerate a smaller book in here more than I could probably tolerate this little notebook. This little notebook is perfectly functional. So I'm fighting through my pickiness, I guess, and trying to use it. I don't know how long it'll last, but I went ahead and filled out the months through, I don't know, the end of the year. Yeah, all the way through December. And filled in, like I migrated from, I shouldn't say migrate, I transferred all the dates from all my other planners I've done so far this year. And I'm trying to use this as my reference for my monthly. And I don't think that the idea of this is going to change. I think I'm going to always have to have this. And it seems like a great answer, a very easy answer. So I'm going to always use a leather cover. So I might as well put some strings in it and add in this monthly insert. especially if I can find one that I really love. I have another idea to solve the problem, but I'll get into that some other time. Because honestly, I'm just going to stick this out. Okay, so a couple of other things that I have done is this. I talked about it, I believe, that Kalindex. So if you search up Kalindex, you'll see the explanation of a grid like this. This could be used as a future log. You know, it has more of a calendar vibe than the monthly log or the future log that is suggested by Ryder Carroll, for sure. And it wasn't that hard to make. It's kind of a pain, but it wasn't as hard to make. I still don't like it, but nevertheless, here it is. And instead of using it, so the Kalindex method says that you would write, say on January 1st, you got a haircut. You would write not haircut. You would write the number, I guess, I don't know, the number of the page where you talked about that thing or something like that. I don't know. I didn't go too deep into it because I was automatically knew that those little numbers were not going to work for me. It's kind of like a yearly overview with the index kind of built into it. So Ryder Carroll's index that he talks about passionately, actually. So what I decided to do instead was include my celebrations and my birthdays. I have talked about this in a celebrations video I did when I was just talking about planning in general and sort of how I plan to celebrate people in my life and how important that is to me. Well, I put that all here. And so these are all the birthdays, and I put check marks. I put check marks next to the people that I've already celebrated their birthday. And then I use my future log to write those people down and say what I did to celebrate them. So, you know, these haven't happened yet, but I could like plan, you know, like back here, my son and my husband, I can write down sort of what I plan to do for their birthday, or I could log what I did for their birthday so that in the next year, when I go to celebrate their birthday again, I have a log of what I did for them. I mean, this may not be important to most people, but it is to me. So celebrating people and their birthday is important to me. But then I also thought, well, maybe I actually had this page set up to be another Kalindex drawing, but I decided not to do that. I decided to add in yearly log to this page as well. And then I wrote like the flea treatment and then the last pedicure I got, I wrote those on those days, and I plan to go through and color code this. That's why I started a pen test to see. I cannot stand when when highlighters smear my ink. So I was just doing some practicing with that. So that's what my plan is there. And see, I did this thing where I wrote birthday plan is on page 10 to 12, as if I wouldn't know if I just turned the page. And then I got right into my daily logs. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit and talk about this. So I don't really like the way this looks, and I think it's probably because I am a journaler and I love to have pretty journal pages, and then I've seen through the years everyone else's beautiful bullet journal pages, and these look nothing like it. But it doesn't matter to me because I'm trying to flesh out this method, and I'm trying to embrace the method over the planner so that it can, you know, be incorporated into my life and I can love it. So some thoughts on this. So I forgot to put in the monthly calendar, so it doesn't matter though, right? It doesn't matter. So here's today. Something that Ryder Carroll says, and someone mentioned that he has an updated version. I haven't found that yet, but I will find it. But he says that I need to put a dot for each of like my to-dos. And then when I've done them, I X them out. So you can still see the little, maybe it'll focus. You can still see the little dot underneath that X. And then if it's not done, then I'm gonna migrate that to the next day so that arrow is moving forward, or I'm going to go the other way like I did with this one, this sign up that I didn't get to. I'm gonna go this way because that means it's going into my future log, which is back here. So I didn't get that done. Now that should have been over this. And these are events, circles, and then I fill them in when they're done. And then I sort of rapid log about those journals. Here's my hangups. I don't really like the X. The X feels it looks too much like this small arrow. So I'm gonna have to come up with a different key, I think. I would love to hear your ideas. I gotta come up with a different key. This is just a little bit too busy for my mind. Now over here, I had a space between each one, and this is, I was using check marks because check marks is kind of like what my brain says, check it off and it's done. So I'm not sure. There's not much difference between a check mark and an X. So I don't know if I'll just try to stick it out, and before I go trying to change my key. I was trying to stick with Ryder's keys. And then also the other thing is, he wants me to rapid log about events. So dinner at home, I didn't think that was an event, but I made it an event and then tried to do a little rapid logging about it. But how do you know how much space you're going to need under your events to rapid log? I mean, what if I have a lot I want to say, or not very much I want to say? I don't really understand that. And then I am a list maker. So where do I make that list? Over here, I just kept a few spaces underneath the event and then rapid logged underneath it. Anyway, enough about that. I think you get my point. Okay, so a few things I really do like. I like that I have a place to keep track of every single day. A few of the things, I'm using this Lumen tool, so I'm keeping track of my number as well as how many hours I intermittent fast, and then what I plan on for supper, and then my weight every day, or almost every day. So Ryder, I watched a video where he had this month log, and then over here he had sort of a habit tracker that he I don't know, listed down this side of the page. But as you can tell, I'm putting a lot of things on this monthly log. So those, I love the fact that I'm able to keep track of these, not necessarily, well, they're habits, I guess. The habits and keep track of my progress with those things. And then also walking. I'd like a separate place to keep that. So I just got to figure out how I'm going to organize this, I guess. But nevertheless, all the information's here. So that's a really great thing. And then this monthly log, I'm going to have to figure that out. I don't know. I could probably do the monthly log here and habits here, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's my progress. And I'm really liking it. One thing I will say is that I have talked about building your journaling habit in a previous video, and I'm trying to do that same thing with this. So I'm trying to keep this book with me all the time and keep it open and keep it accessible, keep my writing utensil with it. I had said that to build a journaling habit, you need a book, you need a pen loop, and you need to keep the book with you. So I'm trying to do those things to build this same habit, that I just have some of the method part I've got to figure out. So that's where I'm at, and I will keep posting updates. It's probably going to be this labor-filled, but hopefully insightful process. And thanks for joining me on the journey.